The verse, "And warn your tribe of near kindred," Quran 26:214, was the first revelation addressing the Prophet Muhammad's duty to begin preaching. It appears in Surah Ash-Shu'ara, chapter 26, The Poets, which recounts the journey of Prophet Moses, from the early days of his prophethood, to his migration with the Israelites, their escape from Pharaoh, and the eventual destruction of Pharaoh and his army. This chapter highlights various stages of Moses' struggle against Pharaoh and his efforts to guide his people to the path of Allah. It also recounts the fate of those who denied earlier prophets, including the people of Noah, Ad, the mud, Abraham, Lot, and the companions of the wood, a community that worshipped a sacred tree called Ica. Chronologically, this surah falls within the Middle Makkan period, a time when the divine message challenged the deeply rooted pagan culture of Makkah at the height of its arrogance. The central message of the chapter is this: truth will always prevail. While the forces of evil resist the light of prophethood, falsehood is destined to vanish, but truth remains unshaken. Calling his closest relatives. In line with Allah's instruction, the Prophet Muhammad gathered his close relatives, members of Banu Hashim and a group from Banu al-Muttalib bin Abd Manaf, totaling 45 men. Abu Lahab was the first to respond. He told the Prophet, "These are your uncles and cousins. Be direct, but know this, your family cannot stand against all the Arabs. You must also consider that your own kin are enough for you. If you follow their ways, it will spare them the burden of facing the rest of the Quraysh, backed by other Arab tribes. Truly, I've never seen anyone bring more hardship upon his own people than you." At that gathering, the Prophet, remained silent and chose not to respond. A second invitation and a clear message. The Prophet, invited his relatives once more, and this time, they agreed to meet. Standing before them, he gave a brief but powerful speech. He began by praising Allah, seeking his support, affirming his faith, and placing his trust in him. He declared, "There is no deity worthy of worship but Allah, without any partner. A guide never misleads his people. I swear by Allah, who alone deserves worship, I have been sent to you specifically and to humanity in general as a messenger. Just as you sleep and wake, you will die and be resurrected. Your deeds will be judged, and your final destination will be either everlasting hell or eternal paradise." Abu Talib responded warmly, saying, "We support you, trust your words, and accept your guidance. These are your close kin, and I am among them. I am also the most willing to assist you. Go ahead with what you are commanded to do. I will shield and defend you, though I cannot abandon the faith of Abdul Muttalib." Abu Lahab objected to this, saying, "By Allah, this is terrible. You must stop him before others take action." Yet Abu Talib firmly replied, "By Allah, I will protect him as long as I live." Fiqh as-Sirah, pages 77-78. The call from Mount as-Safa. After gaining assurance of Abu Talib's protection, the Prophet, stood atop Mount as-Safa and cried out, "O Sabaha!" A traditional Arab call signaling urgent news or danger. The tribes of Quraysh gathered in response. He invited them to believe in the oneness of Allah, his prophethood, and the day of judgment. This moment followed the revelation of the verse, "And warn your tribe of near kindred." Quran 26:214. The public call from Mount as-Safa. The messenger of Allah, climbed Mount as-Safa and began calling out, "O Bani Fahr! O Bani Adi!" Two clans from the Quraysh tribe. A large crowd gathered, and those who couldn't come in person sent someone to hear and report back. Among the crowd was Abu Lahab. The Prophet, asked, "If I told you there were horsemen coming through the valley to attack you, would you believe me?" They replied, "Yes, we've never known you to lie." The Prophet, then said, "I am here to warn you before a severe punishment comes upon you." Abu Lahab responded angrily, "May you be ruined for the rest of the day. Is this why you called us together?" At that moment, this verse was revealed, "Perished the two hands of Abu Lahab," Quran 111:1. Bukhari 2/702, Muslim 1/114. A personal warning to the Quraysh. Another narration, reported by Abu Huraira, mentions that after the revelation of the verse, "And warn your tribe of near kindred," Quran 26:214, the Prophet, summoned the Quraysh. When they gathered, he issued a general warning, then addressed specific tribes and individuals. O Quraysh! Save yourselves from the fire. O people of Bani Ka'bi! Save yourselves from the fire. O Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, save yourself from the fire. I cannot protect you from Allah, I can only maintain family ties with you. Muslim 1/114, Bukhari 1/385, 2/702. This was a bold and clear declaration that belief in his message was the foundation for any meaningful relationship going forward. It made clear that blood relations, which traditionally formed the basis of Arab tribal society, could not stand in place of faith under Allah's command. Proclaiming the truth and facing opposition. The Prophet, continued raising his voice with the truth in Makkah, until Allah revealed, "Proclaim openly that which you are commanded, and turn away from the polytheists." Quran 15:94. Following this command, he began openly denouncing idolatry, exposing its falsehood, and demonstrating its complete inability to benefit or harm. He showed that worshipping idols, or believing they could act as intermediaries to Allah, was a baseless and misguided belief. Makkan reaction to the message. The people of Makkah reacted with fury and disbelief. The words of Muhammad, struck them like lightning, shaking the very foundations of their long-established beliefs and traditions. They could not bear to hear their idols and ancestors labeled as misguided. Alarmed by the potential threat to their religious and social order, they began mobilizing efforts to suppress this rising movement before it could dismantle their cherished customs and historical legacy. They understood clearly that acknowledging the oneness of Allah, accepting the Prophet's message, and believing in the hereafter required full submission and total obedience. This meant surrendering control over their lives, their wealth, and their influence, even over their dependents. Their assumed religious and societal authority would be nullified, their personal desires would be subject to the will of Allah and His Messenger. Furthermore, their exploitation of the weak and habitual wrongdoing would have to end. They recognized all of this, and it made them unwilling to accept such a humiliating change. Their refusal wasn't rooted in dignity or pride, but rather in their desire to persist in sin, as the Quran says. But man desires to continue committing sins. Quran 75:5. Even with all this resistance, they were still helpless in the face of a man known for his honesty, integrity, and unmatched character, someone unlike any figure in their ancestral memory. They were left confused and frustrated, not knowing how to stop him. After much discussion, the Makkan leaders decided on one course of action, to appeal to the Prophet's uncle, Abu Talib. They hoped he could persuade his nephew to stop preaching. To make their request more serious and compelling, they invoked the concept most sacred to Arab society, family honor. They told Abu Talib, "O Abu Talib, your nephew insults our gods, criticizes our beliefs, mocks our religion, and belittles our ancestors. You must either stop him yourself, or step aside and let us deal with him. If you remain on his side, then you are our opponent too, and we will take matters into our own hands." Abu Talib responded calmly, trying to pacify them with courteous words. But the Prophet, remained firm in his mission, continuing to spread the religion of Allah, undeterred by their hostility or schemes. Ibn Hisham 1/265. A counsel to divert pilgrims from Muhammad's message. Around the early months of public preaching, the Quraysh grew increasingly alarmed as the pilgrimage season approached. They were well aware that Arab delegations from across the peninsula would soon arrive in Makkah, and feared the spread of Muhammad's message among them. Determined to stop this, they sought a strategy to dissuade pilgrims from paying attention to his words. They gathered at the home of al-Walid bin al-Mughira, a respected elder, to discuss their options. Al-Walid urged them to agree on a unified explanation they could give to visitors about Muhammad. Yet, disagreement broke out among them. Some suggested labeling him a soothsayer, kahin, but that idea was rejected because his speech didn't follow the rhymed, cryptic style of soothsayers. Others proposed calling him mad, majnun, but no signs of madness were present. Another suggestion was to call him a poet, but they couldn't agree, noting that his message didn't match poetic conventions. A fourth idea was to accuse him of sorcery or witchcraft. Even then, Al-Walid was hesitant, noting that Muhammad, had no history of practicing any kind of sorcery, such as blowing on knots. Despite his reservations, Al-Walid concluded that branding him a sorcerer was their best bet. They decided to accuse him of using enchanting words to tear families apart, separating father from son, brother from brother, wife from husband, and tribe from tribe. This claim was chosen as their collective message to pilgrims. Ibn Hisham 1/271, Fi Zilal al-Quran 29/188. In response, Allah revealed 16 verses condemning Al-Walid's scheming. In the Quran, Allah says, "Indeed, he thought and planned, so may he be cursed for how he planned. And once more, may he be cursed, how wickedly he planned. Then he looked, he frowned and scowled. Then he turned away arrogantly and said, This is nothing but old magic, this is nothing but the word of a man." Quran 74:18-25. Among the worst of these opponents was Abu Lahab, a fierce enemy of Islam, who followed the Prophet, from gathering to gathering, shouting, "O people! Do not listen to him, he is a liar, a renegade." Yet despite all these hostile efforts, the Prophet, succeeded in drawing attention and stirring deep discussion among the people. Some even embraced the truth of his message. At-Tirmidhi, Musnad Ahmad 3/492, 4/341. Efforts to halt the rising tide of Islam. When the Quraysh realized that Muhammad, could not be silenced or discouraged from delivering his message, they resorted to underhanded tactics, driven by frustration and fear of change. Their goal was to break the spirit of the early Muslims and prevent the spread of Islam. Mockery and insults. They mocked and ridiculed the Prophet, and his followers in hopes of humiliating them and dampening their morale. He was called insane, possessed, or a sorcerer. And they say, "O you, Muhammad, to whom the reminder, Quran, has been sent down. You are surely mad." Quran 15:6. The disbelievers say, "This is a sorcerer, a liar." Quran 38:4. They nearly make you slip with their eyes when they hear the reminder, and they say, "He is surely mad." Quran 68:51. Scorn for the weak. New believers, especially those without tribal protection, were repeatedly mocked and looked down upon. The Quraysh elite scoffed. "Is it these whom Allah has favored among us?" Quran 6:53. Allah responded, "Does not Allah know best those who are grateful?" Quran 6:53. Public humiliation. The arrogant disbelievers laughed at the believers in private and public. They silently mocked their faith, considering themselves superior. In markets and gatherings, they insulted and gestured at them. At home, they spoke about them with contempt. Whenever they saw believers, they mocked them as fools who had lost their way. Allah described this attitude. Indeed, those who committed crimes used to laugh at those who believed. When they passed them, they would wink to one another in mockery. When they returned to their people, they returned joking. And when they saw them, they would say, "These people have truly gone astray." But they were not sent as watchers over them. Quran 83:29-33. In the hereafter, the truth will be revealed, and the tables will turn. Those mocked in the world will be honored in the next, and the mockers will face the consequences of their arrogance. Spreading doubt and distorting the message. In their attempt to stop people from believing in the truth, the Quraysh adopted a destructive strategy. they distorted the Prophet Muhammad's teachings, created confusion, spread false information, and made baseless accusations. Their aim was to prevent people from reflecting seriously on the message. They claimed the Quran was not divine revelation but mere fiction. These are nothing but tales of the ancients which he has written down, and they are dictated to him morning and evening. Quran 25:5. Some even accused him of inventing it with outside help. This is nothing but a lie which he has fabricated, and others have helped him in it. Quran 25:4. In their disbelief, they couldn't grasp how the Prophet, could deliver such profound words without a human teacher. So they alleged, it is only a human being who teaches him. Quran 16:103. They mocked his human nature and everyday behavior, saying, what sort of messenger is this who eats food and walks in the markets? Quran 25:7. But they failed to realize that a true guide for humanity must live among the people, understand their daily lives, and empathize with their experiences. Despite all their accusations, calling him a madman, a poet, or a dreamer, the Quran responded clearly and powerfully. It made it known that the Prophet's words were not from him, but divine revelations, and it openly challenged anyone to bring anything like them. To distract people further, they compared the Quran to old myths and legends. One man, An-Nadr bin Harith, stood up and said to the Quraysh, O people of Quraysh! You're facing something new and beyond your control. You've known Muhammad, since his youth, honest, kind, and trustworthy. But now, you accuse him of sorcery, poetry, or madness. I swear by Allah, he is none of these. He's not a magician, soothsayer, poet, or madman. This matter is serious. I urge you to reconsider your stance. This speech, from someone within their own ranks, exposed the weakness of their arguments. Yet many still clung to their pride and rejected the truth.